كل في صحيحه عن عبد الله بن عمرو رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. The hadith collection of both Bukhari and Muslim as well, and it's narrated to us by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As رضي الله عنه. And this is within the theme, still within the theme of hypocrisy. I've only narrated maybe 4 or 5 hadith, it's probably the 6th or 7th. And we have maybe a week or 2 to go on this topic. I think it's important because I feel, or this is my general sense that I get from talking to people, that there's a little bit of a misconception of what nifaq actually is and what qualifies as nifaq and where the problem actually lies in it. And I think that's worthy of contemplation and of reflection, because the more you read his hadith, alayhi salatu wasalam, you will find out that he's pointing out to a discrepancy. He's pointing out a schizophrenic effect in behavior. He's pointing out someone who is extremely committed to rituals, however, has no understanding of basic human behavior, like basic human conduct, just basic ethics that you should have. That's when you look at him, alayhi salatu wasalam, talk about it. This is what the sense you get. And obviously, nifaq is different degrees of horrificness, but it's worth at least understanding some of these degrees that will affect us on the day of judgment. That's really, I don't think anyone sitting here listening to me is of nifaq i'tiqadi, where you on the inside you're hateful towards something, but you're acting like you. That is very specific, and that's obviously a problem that the Prophet ﷺ had to deal with, and the Ummah deals with today. Like, there are people who are like that in the world today, but for the most part, they don't make it for Isha prayers at masajid, for the most part. But there are other degrees of nifaq that are real and can be very costly on the day of judgment, which he points out in this hadith, alayhi salatu wasalam. This is very famous. It's similar to the one I narrated at the beginning, but it's different also because he gives a different number. I talked about ayatul munafiqi thalath maybe a week ago. So here he says, alayhi salatu wasalam, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أربع من كن فيه كان منافقا خالصا ومن كانت فيه خصلة منهن كانت فيه خصلة من النفاق حتى يدعها. So he says there are 4 things, whoever has them, whoever practices these 4 things, then this person is a full hypocrite. And if there's any aspect of them in you, any aspect of these 4, any one of them, one of these characteristics that you carry, then you have a characteristic of hypocrisy until you let it go. Now, there's an additional piece to the hadith that you find in the collection of Imam Ahmad. And a lot of those who narrate the hadith say it's in the collection of Imam Muslim as well. For the life of me, I've never been able to see that addition in the collection of Imam Muslim. I haven't been able to see it with my own eyes. Like the scholars who narrate the hadith in different places, they always say, وَزَادَ إِمَامُ Muslim. And I've never seen it. Like, I've never actually been going back and be able to see it in the collection of Imam Muslim. So I take it with face value of what they're saying, but I've seen it with my own eyes in the collection of Imam Ahmad with authenticity, with an authentic chain of narration. But I just haven't been able to see it for whatever reason. Maybe he narrated in a different chapter and I just didn't come across it, but I couldn't see it. But the addition that he has here, which is extremely concerning to me, and I find it very scary, because he adds this before he actually points out before he counts the 4 things that you already know. Honestly, if I ended the hadith here, it would add nothing if I kept on going, because you know exactly what these 4 things, you've heard them a million times before. But this is what he adds to it. قال وإن صام وصلى وزعم أنه مسلم. So he added to that this person is a full hypocrite if they do the 4, and has an aspect of hypocrisy if he has one of them, even if this person prays and fasts and walks around claiming that they're Muslim. That they're not, is what he's trying to say, alayhi salatu wasalam. It doesn't matter what they claim, even if they pray and they fast, it doesn't matter. If these things are there, then this person is وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ is a hypocrite. And that's very scary, because again, we don't seem to always see nifaq that way. That's not how we look at it, and maybe that's how we should be looking at it. And then he points out the 4 things, alayhi salatu wasalam. And different, by the way, the sequence differs from one book to the other. This is the one that I remember. إِذَا حَدَّثَ كَذَبَ وَإِذَا أَتُمِنَ خَانَ وَإِذَا عَاهَدَ غَدَرَ وَإِذَا خَاصَمَ فَجَرَ. If the person speak, they lie. And if they are entrusted with something, they're not trustworthy. And if they give their word or they make a covenant, they don't see it through. And if they dispute something with someone, they're in dispute, they lose their ethics. They become obscene. They say things that they shouldn't say. They treat the person with lack of integrity once they're not on good terms with them. These are the 4. None of these are ritual based. None of them have anything to do with rituals at all. They don't even talk about fara'id. They don't talk about acts of worship. They talk about basic human decency. Just the basics of human decency. If you run into someone who is not honest, who cannot be trusted, who is not a person of their word, and someone who the moment you're not on the wrong terms with, they will take out your dirty laundry and put it out for people to see, and they'll basically go after you, saying everything that they ever knew about you because you don't agree with them anymore. That's not a decent human being. That's not a decent human being. You don't want to have anything to do with that human being at all. You want to stay as far away as you possibly can from them. And you want to go around telling others to do the same, because that lacks basic human ethics, lacks the basics. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, if you have these four or one of them, then hypocrisy is a part of you. Even if you walk around saying you're Muslim and you pray and you fast and you do all the other stuff, if that's there, then that's there. And this is not, and obviously, again, this is not a catalog. I hope I've established that already for you. That these hadith aren't there to catalog. This is not for us to. Please don't build a diary and write people's names on pages and start pointing out how many of the four they have. This hadith aren't there for that. This hadith is for us, for each person to take and reflect upon themselves. Am I a pathological liar? Do I lie all the time? Do I find it easy to tell a lie? Or am I someone who's always truthful and honest? Am I someone who is a man of their word, a person of their word? When I say something, I see it through. If I promise you, I make sure I come through with my promise. Am I someone who can be trusted? If you trust me with something, a piece of information, or because that's actually more difficult to hold on to than a piece of possession, I will make sure that I'll deliver it the way I was entrusted with it. Am I someone who, when I lose, when I'm no longer friends with someone, do I still show some integrity and respect to the relationship, or do I go ahead and lose all of my ethics in disagreement? Because if that's the case, then the Prophet ﷺ gave one heck of a warning. This is a scary thing for him to say, ﷺ. He said it, and it's not once or twice. You'll find this hadith narrated by many people in different collections with different wordings. Same idea. Same idea. If the basics of human behavior aren't there, rituals, I'm not sure how much they do for us. I'm not sure. Inshallah, they're beneficial, but I'm not sure. Because the Prophet ﷺ saying, no, this is... Rarely do you find in the Prophet ﷺ's hadith where he points out hypocrisy to be an issue of ritual. Rarely. Maybe once or twice he alluded that munafiqeen don't make it to Fajr and Isha. They just don't make it. They're just too busy. But for the majority of it, he's talking about behavior. He's talking about ethics and morals. And I think it's something worthy of our contemplation. Please, there's a fundraising dinner coming up at LMM. I'm not sure if it's a dinner or not, but it's for the people in Turkey and Syria and other part in that area that were horrifically and devastatingly harmed by the events that occurred. And then I don't know if you're keeping in touch with these things or you're up to date with it, but the images that are emerging are just devastating. They're just horrific to see. Horrible. It's very difficult to watch some of these things and see these pictures. We're a generation that's going to be haunted by these things, by the way. Like our generation will continue to be haunted by the images of what happened to people that are very similar to us in many ways. Share backgrounds, share last names, share faith, share country of origin, share humanity, if you will, if there's nothing else there. But we sat for the majority of our lives just kind of watching it occur. I can tell you that the image of that boy in that red shirt and blue pants that washed up on a beach, I still see that in my dreams. I till this day I can't shake that. I can't shake that. I'll never shake that image away. That image will never leave me. It'll always haunt me forever. And some of the images we're seeing today with the young girl and her brother, well, that'll haunt us. That's the age of my children. It's the age of my children. I have a daughter that age and I have a son that age. I am not immune. None of us are immune to these things. None of us are immune to these things. The biggest fallacy that the human being walks around with in this life is to feel that they're immune to what's happening to others. You're only immune until it does. And at that point, it doesn't matter anymore. You don't even think about how you don't even recall how you thought before. It doesn't matter because it completely fades away in your memory. We're not immune to what happens to people in this world. We are obligated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a part of being it's the part of istikhlaf. It's a part of ubudiyya. The moment someone is hit with a calamity, that you respond with all your might. You respond the way you would respond had it happened to your own children. Like if you see an image and you How would you respond if those were your own? That's how you respond. And anything less than that tells us that this ummah is going to need another 100 to 200 years before it can figure its way out. Anything less, any response that is emotionally less charged than how it would have been to your own children tells me that the ummah is going to need another generation or two. This has to be washed out. This has to be ridden for. Allah has to bring something different. And that's something to keep in mind. So make sure whatever efforts that are being done to support these our brothers and sisters, that you take advantage of them and be generous and do what you can and make dua for them as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease their pain. May Allah accept them amongst the shuhada inshallah ajma'in. يروي الإمامان البخاري ومسلم كل في صحيحه عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنه قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أربع من كن فيه كان منافقا خالصا ومن كانت فيه خصلة منهن كانت فيه خصلة من النفاق حتى يدعها. وزاد الإمام أحمد في مسنده وإن صام وصلى وزعم أنه مسلم ثم قال إذا حدث كذب وإذا اؤتمن خان وإذا عاهد غدر وإذا خاصم فجر. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.